Hey everyone, welcome to the Way of the Superior Man book journey. This is video number 14 and chapter number 13. So this one here is a really interesting one, but before we dive into the chapter, make sure you have got the book. If you haven't got it yet, or if you haven't got the audiobook yet, I've got the links below in the description. It's called Don't Use Your Family as an Excuse. If a man never discovers his deepest purpose, or if he permanently compromises it and uses his family as an excuse for doing so, then his core becomes weakened and he loses depth and presence. His woman loses trust and sexual polarity with him. Even though he may be putting much energy into parenting their children and doing the housework, a man should, and of course, be a willing and full participant in caring for children and the household. But if he gives up his deepest purpose to do so, ultimately, everyone suffers. So the first case that he makes, and the first point that I identified, is using a family as an excuse also ruins the family. So there's, I think, three main things. Like the first one, if you think about the polarity or the attraction from the woman, that goes down because essentially, the man is not creating the frame. The man is not creating a leading. He's sort of just being reactive and passive to his world. And that in itself makes it seem like he's not in lead. Because if you're going to use your family as an excuse, then you're essentially saying that you don't take responsibility, or even that your family is less than, And it's this kind of weird pull, He makes the case that basically your family will realize it. The next thing is your kids and your wife will challenge authority with you. So if you can imagine as well, if you start using your family as an excuse, your kids would look at a man who's there looking at, who's saying, oh, well, I would have done this if it wasn't for the family. As the kids get older, they start looking at you and going, well, I call bullshit. You obviously can't be that much of a father here. And it's a pretty big thing that you actually end up putting on the kids, and you also try and undermine them. You make them not feel worthy. And it's a whole sort of vicious cycle. And I think, that's a really big one. That's a really big one. So wife and kids undermine you, less attraction, and it makes you look weak. So that's the first point that I really noticed and was, quite liked in this chapter. So yes, then it does this reintroduction of the masculine and feminine core desires. So here it is. If your woman has a more feminine essence than you, or if she is in a more feminine phase of her life than you, then her priority will be the flow of love in her life. Her core will be much more fulfilled by the love she shares with the children than yours will be. You will also feel great fulfillment sharing love with your children, but if you have a masculine core, or if you're in a masculine phase of your life, this fulfillment will not touch your deepest parts in the same way. Even if you love your children every bit as much as your woman does, your relationship with them will only be part of your deepest life purpose. So that reintroduction of the masculine wants purpose and the feminine wants love, that comes in here. But I think the reason why it's reintroduced here is because children have become a part of it. I think there's a modern trend which comes through, which is this idea that as soon as you have kids, both parents must drop everything and it's just the kids. Your life is kids. But what I love about what Deida is doing here is he's actually making a case that is still not the case for a man. In actual fact, it's kind of the opposite. And not that he shouldn't love his kids, but in fact that through building his deepest purpose, his deepest desire, his deepest want, he loves the kids more. Right, and that comes to the next point here, which is all about presence, because a man can be more present, right, if he is able to spend his time on his deepest desires and then spend his time with his family. Because then he is not with his family, regretting or using his family as an excuse and wishing that he was doing his deepest purpose. And that's the beautiful thing here, is he's not really, it's a very practical way of thinking about it. It's like going, well, if a man is going to be always thinking about his deepest purpose, make sure that he does that first so that he can spend as much time and as much love with the rest of the family. So that's what I really like about there. There is a slight mention here that men can have family as a deepest purpose, and so those kind of men might not find this chapter even worthwhile because they're not going to use their family as an excuse, because they don't, in actual fact, that is their deepest purpose, and that's cool as well. So that's a really nice thing as well. And finally, the last point, which I really loved in this chapter, and it actually sort of came about even last Saturday, which is really cool, and I want to tell a little story, is he talks about the feeling that children get from their parents. So essentially, children can feel when a man is not living their deepest purpose. And it's actually not even really about purpose. He actually opens this up. Children learn most from their parents by osmosis. If their father is subtly weakened and compromised, this will flavor their experience of his love. Just as you did with your father, your children will unconsciously replicate or react to the emotional taste they absorb from you. Your essential emotional tone, at ease in your deepest purpose or fearful in the ambiguity of your intent, becomes part of your children's home. So I like that paragraph, but then I'm going to skip a little bit ahead and go, children are exquisitely sensitive to emotional tone. If you're not in your full core, aligned with your deepest purpose, and living a life of authentic commitment, your children will feel it. Now, the story of what happened on Saturday, I was with a man who has just had a kid. I think the kid was born nearly a year ago now. Yeah, nearly a year ago. And he was telling me how he's had the whole year off from work, which was really like a wonderful thing for him. But he's always been like a big entrepreneur and hustler. Like he's always gone ahead and done a whole bunch of things. And he looked at me and he said, I'm getting back into work now. And I said, what do you mean you're getting back into work? He's like, you've been wanting to take this time off. And he said, yeah, but that kid is starting to watch me. He's starting to watch me. He's starting to see me. He's starting to want to copy me. And I want to become, I want that kid to become the best man that he can be. And if he's already copying me, I need to be the best man that I can be. And I thought that was incredible. He could already sense this exact thing that Deida is talking about here. That kid is watching him, not just from a replicating sort of thing. He's sensing his energy. And the intuition of this man to then go, I need to be the best man that I can be, because that kid is going to try and become that. That is the best way that I can help him become that. And I think that's a wonderful way to end this chapter. Don't use your family as an excuse, because they're not the excuse. You have to take 100% responsibility and become the best man that you can be. And whether that is, your deepest desire is to become the best man you can be, or to climb whatever great mountain you want to climb, you have to do that first so you can be present with your family and be the best father and husband that you can be. That's all coming from a guy who's not a father myself. Maybe that'll change when I'm a father, but I really like that chapter for that. Anyway, thanks so much, everyone. We're going to see you next week on the next video, which is Don't Get Lost in Tasks and Duties, chapter number 14. See you then.